welcome to the Ronline Report. We are coming into the 2017 Olympia weekend, and joining us today is one of the front runners, one of the favorites for the Classic Olympia, Classic Physique Mr. Olympia title. Fourth place last year. A lot of people thought he could have done better. A lot of people think he's going to do a lot better this year. Please welcome Breon Ansley. Breon, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Ron. Appreciate you. Glad to be on. Excited to be on.
All right, let's have people learn a little bit about you. You are very, very athletic. What kind of sports were you into growing up?
Football and track and field were my two main growing up. Those were my two main sports, and I started those, man, both of those, as early as 7 years old. Started really, really early. And I was playing football up until 2003, arena football with the Jacksonville Tomcats in Florida, and running track up until senior year in college at Iowa State University. So doing those two sports for a long, long time. I mixed baseball and basketball, in there sparingly, but those were my main two for a long time.
So you started weight training for sports. Would you say basically started weights like ninth grade or so, or when did you really get into it for football and track and all that?
I started lifting weights. I had a little weight set, man, at my house. In the 8th grade, I was like, man, next year I'm getting ready to be a running back in high school, and those guys are big, and I'm gonna have to break tackles. So I better start getting strong and lifting weights. So 8th grade is when I started. That was around 12 and a half years old. Wow. And then, early on. Yeah.
So you got strong, very strong. We talked for the MD print magazine a couple months ago. It's at about 150 pounds, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were bench pressing 310 pounds, squatting 445, and doing cleans with 265. Those are some pretty impressive numbers.
Yeah, I was. And that was when I was able to produce those numbers, that is when the bodybuilding idea kind of popped into my head. That was around, that was around freshman year. I did that because we started putting we started weightlifting and getting into strength and conditioning program. That was around 13, 14 years old. So when I realized that I was pretty strong, man, as a little guy, I was like, I didn't know too much about bodybuilding, but I just equated, okay, some strength can lead to good muscle build and a good shape and all that type stuff. Yeah. So that's when that started getting in my head as well.
Did your body start changing pretty quickly? Did you start looking more muscular than, say, most of the other kids on the team?
Yeah, I would say yes. I wasn't overpowering type of, my muscle development wasn't overpowering or anything, but it was definitely developed. Yeah. I was definitely developed. I was more so, maybe even more heavily developed in my legs, I would say.
Well, that makes sense. That makes squatting 445 at 150 pounds. My goodness.
Yeah. This little guy had some torque, man. Had some strength.
In track, were you a sprinter as well, or did you do more of the distance events?
Sprinter all the way. Yeah, all the way.
It's where the hams came from.
Yep.
Have you noticed that on average, most elite sprinters have better hamstring development than bodybuilders?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Crazy.
I do. You look at definitely when you look at all the elite sprinters out there, they all have great leg and hamstring development.
So when did you really become aware of bodybuilding and start looking at the magazines and getting an idea that maybe this is something you'd like to do one day?
I started becoming aware of bodybuilding, like I said, at around 14, 15 years old when I started. When I said, okay, you know what? This little guy is pretty strong. When I realized that, then when Flex actually moved to Rolling Heights. I was living in Rolling Heights at the time.
Yeah.
He moved to Rolling Heights, and he became a neighbor of mine. And then I started following it even more then because, you know, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Flex was in his heyday at the time.
Right.
This was in like, what, the early to mid-'90s?
Yep. Let's see.
Or even like mid to late 90s, yeah. He was in his heyday at the time. And that was awesome. You know what I mean? I was just like a kid in a candy store of being able to talk to him and say hello to him from time to time. And have somebody like of that stature in bodybuilding, you know, be my neighbor. So I started following it then, even more so at around 16, 17, 18, still on the back burner, you know, of my mind and in my plans because, you know, I was heavy playing football, heavy into the track. I wanted to make it to the NFL. I wanted to get a full ride scholarship to college, you know, as a lot of you know, teenagers want to do at that time.
Right.
And yeah, so that was when I started becoming aware of it. Then it just kind of came to fruition when football was done. Injuries are a reality. I moved back here from Iowa to stay with my parents for a bit. In and out of acting, you know, and that was about in 2000 and late 2011.
Okay.
Late 2011, did my first show in 2012.
All right. Let's back up to college for a second because, you know, star athlete, you know, muscular and everything. You're probably like the last person anyone expected to be a theater performing arts major. But what made you choose? What made you choose that major? And did you know, how did the other kids in that major kind of look at you or receive you when they first met you?
Okay, so to be quite honest with you, I chose the major initially because business management was giving me too much hell, you know what I mean, to try to manage that major and try to play football at the same time and keep my grades up and be a star athlete and produce on the field. Business management was too much at the time. So I was like, you know, let me kind of soften things up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
And let me go into the arts, man. Let me go into the arts.
Yeah.
I'm a showman, a performer at heart. I have no problems with it. I'm not shy.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something in this for me. So I gave that a shot, and there it went.
Okay. See, and you've actually done something with that. You know, a lot of people who did that major up, maybe they do Shakespeare in the Park once or twice or something. I don't know. But, you know, we talked about it before, but you've actually had some decent little gigs here. Can you rattle off a few of those for the viewers?
Yeah. I did, well, I mean, the ones that the viewers would probably definitely recognize the most would be Fast and Furious. I had a part in Fast and Furious, a small part. And it was the Fast and Furious fourth one after Tokyo Drift.
Yeah. Had
a small part in there. And then I would probably say my best part still to this day was I did a Mountain Dew commercial in 2008. That was huge. It was, I went to Beijing, China for 12 days. Yes.
Nice.
We shot it. We shot it in Beijing, China, 12 days. And it was a huge Mountain Dew ad. It played a lot during the X Games. And there was also the Winter Olympics at the time. That was like 2008, and it ran for like 2.5, 3 years, all the way till almost 2000, you know, into 2011. So it ran for a long time.
Cha-ching.
Yeah. Cha-ching was exactly right.
Yeah.
Until then, I've still been trying to match the same cha-ching numbers that one did.
What did you do in that commercial? Because, you know, maybe you'll stir up some memories for people that might remember it if you say it.
The thing was, I was a backpacker, and I went to China to kind of learn this new move. And I don't know if you guys remember the slap hands game where somebody puts their hands underneath yours, and then you try to, or over the top of yours, and you try to slap their hands, you know, and they move them out of the way.
Yeah.
So anyway, the thing was that I went to this Shaolin temple in China, and I was a backpacker, and I was a novice starting off, and you know, I was playing slap hands with the master and all of his pupils, and they would just tear me up to pieces, man, crying and all this. And eventually through training and all that in the commercial, I got better and better and better and better and better.
Yep.
I was, you know, beating the pupils with doing handstands and behind my back and all this and all that. And then at the end, I go to the master and I try and I think that I have him, right? I slap his hands.
Yeah.
I have a Mountain Dew on top of my hand, and I slap his hands at the same time. But then he in that time, he has drank the whole Mountain Dew can.
Oh, he's a master.
Yeah. So at the end, I'm still not fast enough. But yeah, that was the whole thing with the thing. It was fun, man, and that was I don't know if anybody remembers that, but when they see it, when people see it, they're like, "Oh my God, I remember that commercial. That was you."
Well, Fast and Furious 4 is probably on, cable or something. I call it cable. I don't know what it is. What role did you play in that movie? Did you get to work with Vin Diesel or any of the other stars?
No, I didn't see Vin Diesel. I was the FBI agent in the GPS lab. Okay. When they were trying to navigate and tell Paul Walker at the time where to go, or they were trying to find him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were trying to track him down as they were racing all throughout the fields. Yeah. So I was a part of the FBI crew in the GPS room. Yeah, a small part. Had a little one-liner.
I saw a movie. It looked like a movie poster for a movie called In Your Eyes. Was that you on the poster, or was I mistaken?
Yeah,
that was.
Yes.
You? Okay.
Yes.
Not bad, dude.
Yeah.
So I won't make this all about the acting, but do you still go out on auditions? Are you still actively doing this?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I actually will be in a pretty good. The same producers that did In Your Eyes and the same director going to hire me for another film that's going to be going to Sundance and Cannes hopefully later this year. Yeah. So that's exciting, after Olympia, those kind of plans.
I mean, I talk about all this because so many bodybuilders out there, they have that fantasy that some casting director is going to see them and say, I want that guy in my next movie. Because Arnold was obviously, Arnold was the iconic story. So many people want to go from bodybuilding to movies and TV and commercials and stuff. So, and there's only a handful of you guys that have actually done it. And props to you.
Yeah. I mean, you first of all, you have to be in LA. That would help.
Yes.
And you have to hit the pavement, man, and get an agent and have a niche, and you have to be able to be very charismatic too. People just want, a lot of the times in these auditions, they turn the sound off all the way. Yes, this is a secret that I'm letting everybody know out there. Yeah. They turn the sound off all the way, and they ask you a question, and all they want to see is animation and and you being a character and eyebrows up and smiles and big eyes and all this type of stuff. Yeah, that's all they want to see, initially. So stone face, not wanting to smile, not having any pizzazz and all that. That's not going to work in that business.
You just described 99% of bodybuilders. But anyway.
Oh, see there. So note to bodybuilders, guys. Note to bodybuilders.
Not everybody.
Get your charisma up.
All right. So let's get back to your bodybuilding career. It was actually pretty fast rise, I think, because you started off with the Excalibur, which is a regional show, which was the end of 2012, correct? And then 2013, you won the LA, which for those who don't know, the LA, I lived out there 10 years. It's like on the level of a Junior USA or Junior Nationals. It's not your regular city show because you got guys from Southern California. You got all these other transplants from all over the country that do that show. It's a very, very tough regional show. You won that a few weeks later. Or was it 2 weeks later they had the USA? Very soon.
Yeah, a week later. A week later at the USA.
Boom, pro. You won the middleweight, so you got your pro card. So here you are, 176 pounds. There's open bodybuilding. There's 212 bodybuilding. You're 176 pounds. What was your next move? What were you thinking? Where do I go from here?
212, to be a 212 top 212 competitor was my very next move, and what my thought process was after that. But then I ran into, you know, some difficulties with acting and with, you know, the entertainment business, trying to put on all the size and have it match with, you know, going into auditions, man, and you know, and how it was going to help me on that end, marketability wise, and how marketable I was going to be able to stay, you know, because now trying to put on size and all that, my cheeks are going to get a little bigger. My body's going to get a little bigger. You know what I mean? I might lose flat, you know, smooth out a little bit, trying to put on some size and maybe some of the off season. And also just me and what I wanted, how I wanted to feel and how I wanted to walk around with the muscle, carrying the type of muscle. I started becoming not satisfied with it. You know, I got all the way up to 220.
Yeah.
And I was not happy walking around at 220 because that was some weight, man. That was some weight that I wasn't used to. My shape kind of got out of whack. You know, stomach kind of got out of whack at 220. And then also, as I mentioned, my marketability with the entertainment business changed. Casting directors were like, Breon, your face is, you got a young looking face. But then when we pan to your body, man, your body is so huge and massive. And you guys, you know, on camera, you add 5 to 10 more pounds on what you really are.
Yeah.
As what it looks like on camera. So if I'm 215, 220, it looks like 225, 30, 35 on camera. So that's what I ran into. I ran into that problem, man. And I was like, listen, my personality is that I'm not going to do anything if I'm not going to go for it to be the best.
Yeah.
So I was going for it to be the best, to be a top 212 guy, you know, Olympia guy, top 3, the whole gung-ho thing.
Yep.
And I kind of, at the time, I kind of had to play the size game a little bit. Like I said, didn't work out for me with the 212 shows that I did.
Yeah.
The Phoenix Pro and the New York Pro in 2014.
Well, let's talk about. I just want to mention that briefly because you know you didn't do well at. You didn't do as well as you had hoped, obviously. We'll get to Classic later, which was what you were meant for all along. But I was surprised you were disqualified at the New York Pro in 2014 because you didn't go back for the night show, correct?
Correct.
What was up with that?
Well, I was all over the place. It was a disaster right from the start. I had my house caught on fire my house caught on fire in, when was the New York Pro? May? Yeah. My house caught on fire in like late November of the previous year, 2013, like right after USA's, okay. You know, that same year. Yeah. So I was trying to get all this together, man, and prep, you know, sleep in my garage while the workers were working on the house, and that took 3 months. You know, manage clients with work at the time, all while trying to get ready for the New York Pro, and that's coming up in May. And it was just a little bit more stressed than what it needed to be. So my mindset, so that was that. Then my mindset was, oh, you know, like in amateurs, you don't, this was my first pro show, mind you. So like in amateurs, you know, you're not invited to the night show if you don't get top 6.
Right.
So my mindset was the same. I was like, oh man, I didn't get first call out. I didn't even get second call out, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm not even invited back to the night show. What I did was I went into a food coma and then that was it. And then Brandon Ray called me, like, Brandon Ray, you guys know Brandon Ray, bodybuilder. Yeah. Really good friend of mine, man. He's been really supportive right from the jump. He called me and was like, dude, you better write a letter, or you better apologize to Steve or let him know what's going on, because you could get fined for that. I was like, oh man, what a mistake. So that's actually what happened.
Okay.
I didn't even know that I was invited back to do the night show.
Did you later find out if they would have let you did they let everyone do their routine at that show or not?
Yeah, so what happens is they let the top what is it, the top 10 or top 12 for the pros?
I think it's up to the discretion of the promoter for a particular show. But so you would have you would have gone out, hit a pose, and waved goodbye to everybody anyway, basically.
That's what I was going to do anyway. You know, I don't think that I wasn't going to do the routine anyway. You know, because I didn't even get top 10. So I was going to just they were going to call me out, and I was going to say, hey, strike a pose, and then I was going to be off. But what an experience! What an experience! And I got my bags. My bags were lost on the flight. I came into the wrong airport. Blah blah. You know, it was a disaster right from the jump. Like I said, man.
It's very confusing.
So that's why
JFK and LaGuardia, everybody. It's very confusing.
Yeah, I went into JFK. Yeah. I should have went into LaGuardia.
Happens to all of us.
Yeah, because it was in the city at the time. It was in Manhattan.
Right. So you did those 2 pro shows as a bodybuilder, as a 212 pro. Didn't go the way you'd hoped. So what was your thought process after Phoenix? Did you say, I'm going to do everything it takes and be a good 212 pro, or I don't know about this. I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
But my thought process at that time was like, okay, you know what, guys? I'm gonna lose some weight. I'm gonna get lean. I'm gonna put on a little bit more lean muscle and lean mass. And I'm gonna work on my shape.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to whatever musculature I have. Where I was at, I was gonna come down from that to, what would I step? I step on stage at about 192, 193. And in New York.
Yep.
So I was just going to come down even more, maybe, to about maybe the 180s, high 180s, around there with around the low 190s, but being lean and working on putting on more lean mass, and just working on my shape and my structure at that point. I was like, you know what? They're just going to have to accept me, and I'm just going to have to be a top guy that's lighter weight, that brings shape to the table, that brings conditioning to the table. And that's it. We'll see. How it fares out for us.
So a couple of the classic guys I've been talking to, they were in a similar situation to you, where they had really great shape. They just weren't massive. And these top 212 guys now, they're massive. They're like 5'3", 5'4", 5'5", and just about as wide as they are tall. So they were very, very happy as soon as classic. Like I just talked to Arash last week. Soon as classic came out, it was like a light bulb went off. It's like, yes, this is it. This is what I was always meant to do. Is that how you felt in early 2016 when that video with Jim Mannion and Frank Seppi came out where they announced the division?
Right away. I didn't even have to sleep on it overnight. I made the decision right away, right when that video came out. Right away, the decision was easy, easy as can be, and I was ready to go right into classic.
Right on. So, it must have just confirmed it all for you, because you got ready for that first. Was the show that you won? Was that the very first ever Classic Pro show held or not? Can't recall.
No, because that was in July.
Okay.
The first one they had was in LA in like March.
Right.
Yeah, that was the first one they had when Danny. I think Danny won that one.
Yeah, I believe he did. So
yeah.
So you jump in and you won your first pro show as a Classic Physique competitor. Did that sort of confirm things in your head that this is what I'm meant to? This is what I can really excel at, this division?
Absolutely. That was all the confirmation I needed. All the hard work that I put into that show, man, and I was like, well, politics, didn't play any factor as well, because I was able to go ahead and take down the favorite.
Yep.
Which was Darren Charles, that's his hometown.
Yeah.
And he's a great competitor. Darren Charles is great, and we'll see him again this year at Olympia.
Yeah.
And that was, yes, exactly. That's exactly right. That was my confirmation that this is what I'm meant to do. I could be great at this. and I could be an Olympian. I could be the champion.
Right. Well, a couple months later, you went to the Olympia. So, you know, that's
Yeah.
always an overwhelming thing. Anybody I talk to, their first Olympia is something they're never going to forget. What are the things that stand out in your mind that you'll always remember about your first Olympia?
Definitely just when you first come out of those curtains, man, and you're walking up, getting ready to hit your mark in that front relaxed pose, and there it is. That's your opening show. That's your opening statement. That's the very first thing that I remember. That's the thing that I always remember. There's nothing like also just, when you're in the line with in the first call out, and you're in the line with everybody else, and you're just up there hitting poses. You're just up there going to battle, man, hitting poses, pose after pose after pose after pose, squeezing. You hear all the, you hear everybody blowing the air out, and grunting a little bit. That's definitely, all the months of preparation. That's what it boils down to, right there. And also, I remember my posing routine. Like I said, I like to be a showman, and I really like to showcase what's going on with the movement, and kind of like showcase it in the dance. Yeah. And I was really having fun up there putting that whole thing together, and moving around and really giving the judges and the crowd a lot of my character and a lot of my personality.
So after judging, everyone runs up to you and gives you their feedback and predictions and this and that. What were people telling you, and how did you feel about how you were going to do at the show after judging was over?
Well, people were telling me that I looked great. People were telling me that, they thought that I should be, they were like, oh, you're either going to be one or two. Yeah. They were throwing out Arash. They were throwing out me and Arash. They were throwing out me and Danny, me and Arash, me, Danny. Yeah. That's what people were saying. I thought that I agree. I thought I brought a package that can definitely be number one. Yeah. I thought it was good enough to be number one. But I think I kind of knew that, because what's going on from where you're placed in the call outs, so I knew that I don't think I really knew that it was going to be number one. I thought I was going to be probably in the, the second or third range, because I wasn't dead center all the time, as we were doing the call outs. They even had me compared to, they kept me out there and they compared me to the second call out. Yeah. Even so at one point. So, I knew I wasn't going to be absolutely number one, but I was thinking second, third in my mind.
I mean, that's always alarming when you think you're pretty sure you're in the top 3 or 4, and then they leave you out there and bring out the next group of guys. That's got to be a little scary. I would think.
Yeah.
It's like maybe they don't like me as much as I thought they did.
Yeah, I mean, because we know what's going on, and we know what's going on. If you're in the center box, man, if you're out on the outside, if you're compared with the second call out and all that, we know what's going on. Yeah. So you start to just think a little bit, and things start to run through your mind.
Yeah. So, do you think there's a little rivalry between the classic guys on the West Coast and the classic guys on the East Coast? It seems like you have a few top guys over there. You have yourself, Danny, Stan McQuay, and I hope I'm not missing anybody. But over on the East Coast, you got Sadiq, Arash. Yeah, it seems like they're pretty polarized on the coasts. Not a lot going on in the middle. Then you got Bumstead up in Canada. But have you heard anything about that? Any people trying to stir things up that way?
They haven't tried to stir things up that way, but I kind of feel it though. Yeah. People haven't said it, Yeah. And been outright about it, but I kind of feel it. I feel that it's like an East Coast, West Coast thing, like you said with some of the West Coast guys who you mentioned, and then some of the East Coast guys who you mentioned, and then see some of the other guys like Terrence. He's in Florida, yeah. I think.
Darren's in Florida.
And then maybe Robert Timms is out here in Arizona.
Right.
Yeah, there's not a lot happening like Midwestern Texas or, areas or Chicago or wherever. I don't think. I'm not sure, and I don't want to disrespect anybody out there who's who's going to be at the Olympia from those areas.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel it though. I agree with you. But nevertheless though, those guys have been great. Arash is a very nice guy.
Yeah.
To me, Sadiq, very nice guy to me. But in the heat of the moment, we're all competitors, and that's just what I feel kind of, without anything being said. It's kind of like a East Coast, West Coast thing.
So you work with Chris Cormier, the real deal, big legend from the 90s and beyond. How did you start working with Chris? And, explain, what is he? Is he your coach? Is he your trainer? Because a lot of people are wondering what the connection is. What does he actually do with you?
Chris trains me.
Okay.
Trains me, and then we go through posing together. He's my posing conditioning coach, and posing artistic coach as well. He gives me some ideas as far as that is concerned. So training, posing for sure.
How did you end up working with him though?
What happened? How did I end up meeting up with Chris? I think I just contacted him. I think it's just through me contacting him. And then we just went through it like that.
Okay.
I met him one day at Gold's Venice, and I said, "Hey man, we need to probably work together soon." and I think I emailed him. Yeah, maybe a few months after that, and said, "Hey, you remember me, man? I've been telling you that we need to work together soon. This is what's going on. I want to be the champion. I'm going to be the champion, Chris." And we need to build this championship type of body.
Right. Well, you already had a champion type body, but you're making it better. So, what have you worked? I saw you. I've only seen you compete once, New York Pro, where you were fantastic there. What have you been working on since then, and what areas do you see that you still want to be better?
Physique-wise, I still want to be better with my back. I still want to be better with my chest. Triceps, back, chest, triceps.
Okay.
A little bit more sweep, thick back thickness, upper chest thickness, tricep thickness. That's what I think I can improve on as far as physique-wise. Posing, always, working on that. Always working on improving with the posing, fluidity, being able to hit these things and work these angles of the body. And make it look seamless, make it look effortless.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Okay. So classic is it's still so new, but it's booming, it's exploding in popularity. The regional shows I go to now, the lineups are already getting stacked. Whereas for a division that hasn't been around a full 2 seasons yet, that's pretty amazing. So what do kids I'm sure come up to you or contact you online or through social media all the time? What are some of the things that they find appealing about it, makes them want to be part of this classic physique division?
They like the posing. They like the idea of the V-taper, small waist, with the lats coming out and the sweep on the legs.
Yeah.
I get V-taper a lot. I get posing a lot. I get the art a lot. Get balance and flow and symmetry a lot. Just an overall pretty presentation and a pretty look to the. Let me be careful when I say pretty. To the muscle and to the flow of it.
Well, because when I was a kid, when there was only bodybuilding, there was nothing. There was nothing. There was men's bodybuilding, there was women's bodybuilding. That was it. So, and I think there was just a greater, appreciation for or desire to be just huge back then. The cartoons characters are all huge. The action figures are all huge. The guys, Arnold, in the movies, blasting a machine gun with these huge arms and chests and everything. So I don't know if this is the case, but I think that people just don't want to be that big anymore, where it's like cartoonish. Do you think there's going to come a day where classic is, I don't think bodybuilding's ever going away, but do you think it's going to sort of overtake it in popularity and participation?
I think so. I definitely do think so. I think there's always going to be a fascination with the mass monsters and the big, huge guys, the open guys. Always. That's not going anywhere. But I think classic physique is going to classic body. I like to say classic bodybuilding.
Yeah, I wish they would call it that.
Yeah, I like to call it that. But I definitely do think classic bodybuilding is going to be on the rise fast. I think it's probably going to overtake bodybuilding as far as popularity is concerned, and as far as a draw is concerned, because I think just the overall look of it is that it has some freakiness enough, but yet it still looks attainable to, you know, your average guy out there, you know, to your teenagers out there, and your guys that want to be, you know, that want to aspire to be bodybuilders. They look at the physiques and say, hey, you know what? Well, I can attain that. I can look like that. Some guys get discouraged, you know, when they see, you know, the mass monsters, Phil Heath and Big Ramy, and they're like, oh my goodness, am I ever going to get there? Can I ever look like that?
The answer is no. You cannot.
Yeah. The answer is no to many of them, to the bigger percentage, right?
Right.
So I think in that respect, you know, along with just the balance of the muscle, the style of muscle, the type of muscle, the amount of muscle, and just it not being too freaky, you know, but still having an aspect of it, I think creates the best balance, you know, and I think is a great package for why it's going to become so popular and why it's going to rise so fast. Because look, I mean, already we're going to be on the main stage this year for the finals.
Took the 212 guys like 8 years to get to that point, I think.
Man, right? So what a blessing, and that's evidence right there in itself. And it's just going to be very exciting, and I can't wait to be a part of it all.
Something Arash said made sense to me, and because I was at the USA, you were there also. He said that there's a lot of guys that have always been out there with their genetic freaks, these guys with awesome genetics, but they just had no desire to either look like, you know, you would have to look to compete against Phil Heath and Ramy, or they just didn't want to do the things that they knew it would require to do that. But when Classic came along, these guys are all coming out of the woodwork going, okay, this is something I could do. This is something I would be comfortable doing and I could be good at. Do you see Classic Physique taking off for that reason too, that we're going to get all these guys with the great genetics who had no interest in bodybuilding, but this is something that they think is cool and that they want to do?
Absolutely. Because like I said, it has the perfect mix of all those aspects, you know, of some of the freaky muscle, but not too big, but the V taper, you know what I mean, and nice flow with the this and the that of the complete look. But you know, they once they get in and start doing it, they're gonna have a lot of guys are gonna have a rude awakening with trying to make these weight classes.
How hard is it for you now to get to the weight that you need to get to?
It's not easy. It's tough. I got to get all the way down to 180. And and I'm at 180. I was 186 this morning.
Oh, that's not bad. I mean, you got almost.
Not bad. It's not bad. But like I'm already lean, and you know, I'm already very lean already. So it comes slow, and you really gotta pound it. You know what I mean, to lose that extra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've asked everyone, all the Classic pros, the same question. So I'll ask you, would you like to be able to hit more poses, or are you happy with the amount of poses that they have for you right now?
I would like to be able to hit more.
Like a front and a rear lat spread maybe would be cool?
Yeah, rear lat spread. We could hit a side tricep.
Yeah. Okay. And the shorts. Are you cool with the shorts? Or would you
I would like to. Yeah. I want the classic trunks. I would like to have the classic trunks. Me personally, I like to show off the glutes because, you know, I have striated glutes. So I would like to maybe pull those up a little bit and show the glutes and more of the hamstring glute tie-in.
I think that day is coming. I think there's a lot of guys that are just not loving the shorts. They want. There's a movement already to try to get the classic trunk. So we'll see. Could be a year or two.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So
it's moving fast. I have a feeling it'll move fast.
I want to wrap this up with the most important questions. The Olympia is coming up. You're a favorite to win. Why do you believe you should be the Olympia champion?
I think I just have a overall package of obviously the physique, the muscularity, with the conditioning, balance, flow, and then also my presentation. I think how I present it with the charisma and with some pizzazz, you know, with a little excitement up there.
How about ambassador? Do you think you could get out there on some talk shows, maybe get this thing going to the public?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you know, that my background is in acting, so I'm not afraid to be in front of the camera. I think, you know, the interviews that I have done, a lot of people have told me, and that I've seen them as well. I think that, you know, I speak well for the sport. I speak well for myself, and I definitely think that I definitely know that I can speak well for the classic division, and represent it well, and it'd be a great ambassador for it. You know, as far as, again, what the physique looks like, and as far as just me being just with my personality and me being overall excited. I'm an exciting type of guy. I'm a guy that likes to have enthusiasm, you know, within myself, and, you know, with the people that I'm around.
Yeah.
So I just, you know, just have an electric nature about me, and I like to, you know, bring that along with the people that are around me, you know, and be infectious that way. So I think in that respect, I think being an ambassador would be right up my alley.
Cool. Well, I guess we're going to find out 2 weeks from this weekend. Yes. All right.
Yes.
All right. Well, I thank you so much for joining us, Breon, taking the time out during your prep. Wishing you the best of luck. I'll see you there at the show, and we'll see how it shakes out. You know, I'm a good friend of Danny's. I like all you guys. I haven't met one classic pro yet that I didn't think was a cool dude. So it's a great group of guys. It's a great addition to the sport. I didn't object to it like I did some other divisions being added, and I wish you the best of luck. So,
man, absolutely, Ron. I appreciate you. See you that weekend, man. It's going to be a hell of a ride. It's going to be fun, and we're going to get our roller skates ready.
All right. For the Ronline Report, this has been me, Ron Harris, with Breon Ansley.